I decided to unpack Anchor 7 in the ELA standards of the Common Core. Students will examine illustrations to determine mood of the story, specifically in How the Whale Got His Throat. How did Rudyard Kipling's illustrations that matched his story show that the whale was powerful? In that story, the whale slapped the sea with his tail and it made the sea froth up. This is an image that I created using Art Studio that illustrates how the whale got his throat from Rudyard Kipling. And I did it because I anticipate the students will have to, at some point, write a narrative similar to the Just So stories and illustrate their own digitally. In third grade, it's expected that students will explain how specific aspects of a text illustrations contribute to what is conveyed by the words in a story. How do the text's illustrations could create mood or emphasize aspects of a character? So like in How the Whale Got His Throat, the whale is viewed as powerful because it can slap its tail down onto the sea and make the sea froth. And also the size versus the small 'stute fish, which is such a tiny, small fish, and he really emphasizes that. Students will be able to read a piece of literature and notice how the illustrations match the content. This is really important because students have to understand how the visual matches what's happening inside their head and how they can understand what the author's trying to say. The Anchor standard is integrate and evaluate content presented in diverse formats, including visually and quantitatively, as well as in words. So what I'm interested in seeing is that students will be able to read a piece of literature and notice how the illustrations match the content. But then later, they're going to have to actually evaluate. Is the author making a choice here? Why did the illustrator choose to illustrate it in this certain way? This is an example of a close read. I set up a 2-column table, and on the left-hand side is the actual text, the complex text. On the right-hand side are all the different questions that a teacher is going to choose to guide the student to where we want them in their comprehension. Specifically, we already know what the focusing question of this piece is. It's going to be, is the 'stute fish helping or being helpful or being tricky toward the whale? So in this, we're actually guiding all of the questions, so the student actually has to think about that. But it's also about vocabulary. It's also about really digging into the text, which is all about what the Common Core is.
The number 2 pencil is the most popular kind of pencil.
This is really, for me, the biggest part is how this example shows when the whale made the sea froth up with his tail. What image comes to mind? Why? This is a close read question. And you can see I then popped in the image and showing what I consider froth of the sea. When my students leave me, they will go on to 5th grade, and they will be expected to analyze how visual and multimedia elements contribute to the meaning, tone, or beauty. And I love that part, beauty of a text. So looking at multimedia presentations, which I want them to actually be able to create. I hope you see now that looking at the text, seeing what images can come up from the text, matching them with the illustrations coming from the story itself, all of these things students need to do to be good readers and follow the Common Core standards.